Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be cracking open the Data Warehouse Toolkit again.
Oh, yeah.
And this time we're going to get rid of the nitty-gritty of order management.
Love it.
All those systems and processes that basically track a product's journey all the way from when you click add to cart
Right.
to the sweet sound of cha-ching, when that sale is complete.
Yeah, money in the bank.
Exactly. And we're going way beyond the, just the basic definitions here.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
going
yeah.
to try to find those little hidden gems, those
Mm-hmm.
moments that help you really squeeze all the juice out of your data.
Yeah, it's funny because you can really learn a lot about your business
Right.
when you start digging into this data. It's like,
Yeah,
there's a treasure buried right there.
it's true. And this book, it's like the treasure map.
I like that.
It shows you exactly where to dig. So first things first, let's get oriented. What are we looking at?
Okay.
Let's talk about the order management bus matrix.
All right.
Now, I know that sounds
A little intimidating.
a little intimidating.
Yeah,
But honestly, it's just a way to visualize the whole process.
it is. It's a very helpful way to visualize it. Think of it like a blueprint for your data.
Okay, a blueprint.
Yeah, you've got your rows representing different business processes like orders, quotes, shipments, even returns.
Right.
And your columns are showing the different kinds of data you capture at each step.
So you can see at a glance how everything's connected,
Exactly.
how the data flows from one stage to the next.
It's all about seeing the big picture.
The big picture. All right, I like it. But let's zoom in a little bit now.
Okay.
Let's get down to the ground level.
Right. Yeah.
The individual order transactions.
Right.
Each one of those transactions is telling a story, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. They're like little narratives,
Right.
each one unique.
And the way we capture those stories is through what's called a fact table.
Exactly.
So imagine like a spreadsheet,
Mm-hmm.
and each row represents a single item on an order.
Right. Sure.
You've got things like the product, the quantity, the price,
Nice.
the date.
Those essentials.
That's the heart of it, right?
That's where the magic happens.
That's where the analysis starts. Okay, I think I'm getting the basic idea.
Right.
But what about those kind of tricky situations
Oh, yeah.
where you have information that applies to the whole order,
Right.
not just to individual items?
Like a shipping charge.
Exactly, a shipping charge.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with that in the fact table?
That's where the concept of allocating comes in.
Allocating, okay.
You wouldn't want to just lump the entire shipping cost onto one item.
Right, that would
That would mess things up.
mess up the data completely, yeah.
Exactly. So instead, you divide it up
Right.
proportionally across all the items in the order.
Makes sense. So each item carries its fair share.
Exactly. It's all about being fair and accurate.
All right, fairness and accuracy, I like it. But I'm curious about something.
Okay.
The book mentions that a single piece of data, like a date,
Right.
can actually play multiple roles in a fact table.
It can.
How does that work?
That's the beauty of what we call the role-playing dimension.
Role-playing dimension.
Yeah, it's like a date with multiple personalities.
Okay.
You might have the order date,
Mm-hmm.
the ship date,
Right.
the requested delivery date,
Okay.
all different facets of time within the same transaction.
So it's not just what happened, but when it happened from all these different angles.
Precisely. It's about capturing the nuances of time.
That's really clever. I like that. And speaking of different angles, what about your customers?
Ah, yes, the lifeblood of any business.
Exactly what kind of information do we need to be capturing in that customer dimension?
Well, of course, you've got the basics,
Hmm.
names, addresses, contact info, that kind of thing.
The essentials.
But you can go deeper.
Okay.
You can build hierarchies to group customers by
Right.
region, sales, territory, industry.
Right.
It's all about segmentation,
Segmentation.
getting that granular view of your customer base.
Right, so you can start to see patterns. Exactly. Target your marketing,
Mhm.
identify trends, really understand who your customers are.
It's all about knowing your audience.
Knowing your audience. Okay, so we've got our dates, we've got our customers. What else are we dealing with here?
Well, sometimes it's a bit tricky to know
Yeah.
whether to lump information together into one big dimension
Right.
or to keep things separate. The book talks about this debate with sales rep information.
Yeah, I remember that.
Should it be part of the customer dimension or should it stand alone?
That's a tough one.
It is. There's no easy answer. It really depends on how your business operates
Right.
and how those relationships work.
So you have to weigh the pros and cons, clarity versus complexity.
Exactly. You don't want a customer dimension that's a mile wide and an inch deep.
Exactly. And speaking of things that can get messy,
Uh-oh.
let's talk about those unavoidable bits of data that don't really fit neatly anywhere.
Right.
Like flags, indicators, random codes.
Yeah, those little gremlins.
The book calls these junk dimensions.
Junk dimensions. I love that term.
It's like that drawer we all have, where
Yeah.
you shove all the random stuff you don't know what to do with.
Exactly. But in the data world, we give those stragglers a proper home.
Okay, so it's not really junk then.
Not at all. It can actually be quite useful.
Right.
We just need to organize it properly.
Make it work for us.
Precisely, we can create what's called a transaction indicator dimension.
Okay, so these junk dimensions, they're not just a dumping ground?
Not at all.
There's a method to the madness.
There's a method to the madness with still being strategic.
Strategic junk dimensions, I can dig it.
I knew you would.
But I imagine there are some pitfalls to avoid
Oh, of course.
when designing these junk dimensions, right?
You don't want to just throw everything in there willy-nilly. You need to think about how many possible combinations you have
Okay,
and how those attributes relate to each other.
makes sense.
If it gets too unwieldy, separate dimensions might be a better choice.
So it's all about finding that balance
It's a delicate dance.
between consolidation and clarity.
Exactly.
All right, well, I think we've got a good handle on those basic building blocks of order management data.
I think so too.
But I'm curious, what about some of the common mistakes people make when they're putting it all together?
Oh, there are definitely some traps to watch out for.
The book mentions some pitfalls with that header line item data.
It does. A common one is simply replicating your operational order header as a dimension.
Okay,
It seems logical,
right?
but it can create these massive, unwieldy dimensions
Okay.
that make analysis a nightmare.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
It really is. You need a model that's clear, concise, easy to work with.
Efficiency is key.
Absolutely. And real-world data is rarely neat and tidy.
That's for sure.
So we have to be prepared for those curveballs.
These are curveballs. What about those situations where you have to deal with multiple currencies?
Yes, the joys of global business.
Right. It's a good problem to have, but still a problem.
It is. The key is to provide both the local currency and a standardized corporate currency for each transaction.
So if you're a U.S.-based company, you'd store both the local currency amount
Right.
and the equivalent USD amount.
Exactly.
Okay, so you can analyze the data from both perspectives.
It gives you flexibility.
Flexibility is good.
It's essential when you're dealing with a global market.
But what about situations where you need to analyze data in a currency that wasn't pre-calculated in your fact table?
Oh, that's a good question and a common challenge.
Yeah, it sounds like a recipe for a headache.
It can be, but there's a solution.
Okay, I'm listening.
A separate currency conversion fact table.
Okay.
This handy little table houses conversion rates between different currencies.
Oh, so it's like a universal translator.
Exactly. It makes your analysis much more agile.
Agile is good.
Agile is good.
I like that analogy. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about handling currencies now.
Excellent.
But let's go back to those different levels of detail in our fact table.
Okay.
Sometimes you've got facts that apply at the order level.
Right.
Like those shipping charges.
Mm-hmm.
And then facts that apply at the item level.
Like the price.
Yeah, like the price of each product. How do you reconcile those different granularities?
Ideally, you want to allocate those higher level facts down to the most granular level.
Okay.
So, for example, you'd proportionally divide that shipping cost across all the items
Right.
based on a logical rule.
So every item carries its weight, literally.
Exactly. It's all about balance and accuracy.
But what happens if for some reason you can't allocate those higher level facts?
Well, if allocation isn't feasible,
Yeah.
you might need separate fact tables for those different levels of granularity.
Oh, so you're splitting things up.
You are, but that can make things a bit clunky
Right.
when you want to analyze them together.
It's like having two pieces of a puzzle that don't quite fit.
Exactly. Allocation is definitely the preferred approach if you want a seamless view.
A seamless view. All right, I like it. Now, the book also warns against treating the order header as a fact table with a separate line item fact table linked to it.
It does. That's another common trap.
Right. And I could see how that would just create unnecessary complexity.
It's like having to go through two separate doors to get into the same room.
Exactly. Why make things harder than they need to be?
Efficiency is key, remember?
Efficiency is key. Right. I'm with you. So let's move on to something that I think is really interesting.
Okay.
Invoice transactions.
Ah, yes, the money makers.
Exactly. I mean, they're packed with insights about your company's performance.
They are. It's like listening to the financial heartbeat of your business.
Ooh, I like that analogy. So what kind of secrets can we unlock from an invoice fact table?
Oh, so many. It reveals not just revenue,
Mm-hmm.
but also costs, allowances, discount.
Right.
Basically, the entire profit story.
The whole enchilada.
The whole enchilada for each product.
And the book really emphasizes capturing this data at the most granular level,
It does.
the individual invoice line item.
Absolutely, that granularity is key.
Why is that?
It gives you a magnifying glass.
Okay.
To examine the financial details of every single product sold.
You can really get down into the weeds.
You can, and that's where you find the gold.
The gold, all right, so we're mining for gold in our invoice fact tables.
We're prospectors.
Data prospectors.
Exactly.
But invoices aren't just about dollars and cents, are they?
No, they're not.
They can tell us about things like service levels and customer satisfaction, too.
They absolutely can. You can track key dates related to shipping and delivery to measure on-time performance and even spot bottlenecks in your fulfillment process.
So it's like a window into your operations.
It is. It's a very valuable window.
Right, so we see how an invoice fact table can be this gold mine for understanding financial performance, operational efficiency, and even customer satisfaction.
It's a powerful tool.
But let's talk about profit and loss.
All right.
How do you actually bake that into your invoice fact table?
This is where things get really exciting.
Okay, I'm ready.
By including cost information in your invoice fact table, you can build a detailed P&L statement for each product sold.
So you're talking about capturing manufacturing costs, storage costs, distribution costs.
All of it.
Everything that impacts the bottom line.
Every single penny.
So it's like having a mini P&L.
It is.
For every single item that moves through your business.
Exactly. It's a very granular view of profitability.
That's incredible. But I imagine getting all that cost data into your fact table.
It can be a challenge.
Could be a real challenge, yeah.
It can involve mapping or allocating data from multiple systems.
Right.
Sometimes that level of detail just isn't feasible.
So it's important to be realistic about what's possible.
It is, but the rewards of having that detailed P&L view, especially within a dimensional framework, can be huge.
It's like having X-ray vision into your business's financial health.
Exactly. You can see what's working and what's not.
All right, well, before we move on,
Okay.
I'm curious about something the book mentions called an audit dimension.
Oh, yes, that's an interesting one.
It sounds a bit technical.
It is.
I'm wondering what its purpose is.
Think of it as a behind-the-scenes look
Okay.
at how your data was processed and transformed.
Okay.
It captures things like data quality indicators, error flags, even the version of the logic used for calculations.
So it's like a logbook.
It is.
That tracks the data's journey.
Exactly. It provides a trail of breadcrumbs.
Okay, but how could that be useful for someone on the business side?
Well, imagine you're looking at a sales report, and you want to know if any of the numbers were based on data that was flagged as potentially inaccurate, or if any adjustments were made during processing.
So you're checking the data's credibility.
Exactly. The audit dimension gives you that context.
It's like having a little trust but verify button.
I love that analogy.
With your data.
It's a great way to think about it.
Okay, well, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to shift gears and talk about something called an accumulating snapshot.
All right.
Now, this sounds like a really powerful tool.
It is.
For understanding the flow of orders through a business.
It's like watching a product's journey through a pipeline.
Okay.
From the moment it's ordered to the time it's shipped and invoiced.
I like that visual.
An accumulating snapshot fact table tracks each stage of that journey.
Okay, so we're not just looking at individual transactions in isolation.
No, we're not.
We're tracking the whole life cycle of an order.
Exactly. We're seeing the big picture.
The big picture again. All right. But how does an accumulating snapshot differ from a traditional fact table?
The key difference is that an accumulating snapshot fact table can be updated as new information comes in.
Oh, I see. So it's dynamic.
It is. It's a living, breathing record of the order's journey.
That's really cool. Now, before we dive into the details of accumulating snapshots, I want to touch on something that I know could be a real challenge for businesses.
All right.
Handling multiple units of measure.
Yes, the classic conundrum.
Right? It seems like a very common problem, especially for manufacturers or distributors.
It is.
How does the book suggest we tackle this in our fact tables?
Well, the book advises against storing unit conversion factors in the product dimension.
Okay.
Instead, those factors should be included directly in the fact table.
Now, hold on. Wouldn't that just add complexity to the fact table?
It might seem counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But trust me, it makes things much cleaner in the long run.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think about it. If you keep those conversion factors in the product dimension, every time you want to analyze data in different units, you have to look up those factors and do a bunch of manual calculations.
That sounds time-consuming.
It is, and it's prone to errors.
So having everything in the fact table streamlines the analysis.
It does.
Reduces the risk of mistakes.
It is.
It's like having a built-in unit converter.
It is.
Right there in your data.
Makes things much easier.
I like it. Now, as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
I
want to leave you with something to think about.
All right.
The book talks about moving beyond simply looking at historical data.
Right.
And incorporating leading indicators.
Yes.
Like sales pipeline data to get a glimpse into the future.
That's a great point. Historical data is valuable, but it's also essential to look ahead.
Yeah, to anticipate what's coming next.
Exactly. By incorporating those leading indicators into your dimensional model, you can start to answer questions about future trends, potential risks, growth opportunities.
Like having a crystal ball.
It is.
That helps you navigate the uncertainties of the business world.
Precisely.
I love it. All right, well, that's a perfect note to end this first part of our deep dive on order management.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have, from bus matrices to junk dimensions to the power of invoice fact tables.
It's been a whirlwind tour.
It has, and we've only scratched the surface.
That's right. There's so much more to explore.
There is, and in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to really get into the nuts and bolts of accumulating snapshots and how they can be used to track the journey of an order through that fulfillment pipeline.
It's going to be fascinating.
It is. Get ready to visualize those orders moving through the system like clockwork.
Like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really is like having X-ray vision into your order fulfillment process.
Right.
You can pinpoint those bottlenecks.
Right.
You know, where things are flowing smoothly and where things are getting stuck.
Okay, I'm picturing this pipeline.
All right.
But how do we actually design an accumulating snapshot fact table to capture all of this? What kind of information do we need?
Well, first you need to identify the key milestones in your order fulfillment process.
Okay.
Think of it like a roadmap with stops along the way.
Right.
So you might have things like order placement, order confirmation, release to manufacturing, completion of manufacturing, arrival and finished goods inventory, shipment, and finally invoicing.
So you're basically creating a timeline of events for each order.
It's like a mini biography.
Right. But how do we actually represent these events in the fact table?
Well, this is where our trusty date dimensions come to the rescue again.
Ah, the date dimensions are back.
They are.
Our multi-talented date dimensions.
Exactly. You'll have a separate date dimension for each milestone.
So, for example,
you might have an order date dimension, a release to manufacturing date dimension, a finished goods inventory date dimension.
So it's still playing multiple roles.
It is.
But this time, instead of capturing different aspects of time within a civil transaction, we're tracking the order's journey.
Exactly. We're looking at the flow over time.
The flow over time, and by connecting these date dimensions to your accumulating snapshot fact table, you can start to see how long it takes for orders to move between those stages. And that's where those lag calculations you mentioned earlier come into play.
You can actually measure the time it takes to get things done.
That's powerful.
It is. It's very insightful.
So how would you actually calculate those lag times?
Well, you simply calculate the difference between those milestone dates. So you can see things like the time it takes to release an order to manufacturing, the time it takes to actually make the product, and the time it takes to ship it out to the customer.
And if you're seeing really long lag times in certain areas, that's a red flag.
It could indicate a bottleneck.
So give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you notice that orders are consistently getting stuck in the release to manufacturing stage.
Okay.
That's a sign that something's not right.
Right.
You might need to investigate why.
Right. Are there communication issues?
Could be.
Process inefficiencies? Something needs to be streamlined.
Exactly. You need to dig deeper and find the root cause.
So it's not just about understanding what happened in the past.
No, it's not.
Accumulating snapshots can help you proactively improve your operations going forward.
They absolutely can. They're a powerful tool for continuous improvement.
And the beauty of this approach is that it can be tailored to your specific needs.
Can you choose the milestones and the metrics that matter most to your business?
And the accumulating snapshot will give you the insights you need to make those smart decisions.
It's like having a customizable dashboard.
I like that.
For your order fulfillment process.
But accumulating snapshots aren't just for order fulfillment, are they?
No, they're not.
You could use them to track any process that involves a series of stages or milestones.
Any process you can break down into steps.
So you could track things like patient flow in a hospital.
Absolutely.
Or even student progress through a course.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.
I like that the possibilities are endless now before we move on.
Okay.
I want to address something the book mentions about using accumulating snapshots with type 2 slowly changing dimensions.
Okay.
Now that sounds a little technical.
It is, but it's an important concept.
Can you break it down for us?
Sure. It's all about handling situations where dimension attributes might change over time.
Okay.
So let's say you have a customer dimension.
Right.
And a customer moves to a new address with a type 2 slowly changing dimension.
Okay.
You'd keep a record of both the old and new addresses.
So you're preserving the history of changes.
You are. You're creating a historical record.
But how does that impact your accumulating snapshot fact table?
Well, you need to make sure your accumulating snapshot always reflects the most up-to-date information from your dimensions.
So if a dimension attribute changes, you'd update the corresponding fact table row
Exactly.
to reference the latest version of that dimension member.
It's all about keeping things synchronized.
Synchronized, I like, but what if you need to track historical changes to dimension attributes?
Good question.
So update the entire fact table row?
No, typically you'd only update the portion relevant to the current stage. Once a fact table row is complete, meaning the process has reached its final stage, you wouldn't go back and revise it for subsequent dimension changes.
So you're capturing a snapshot of the dimension at each milestone in the process.
It's like taking a picture at each step along the way.
Okay, I think I'm getting a good handle on accumulating snapshots.
Good.
They seem like a really valuable tool.
They are.
For understanding and optimizing business processes.
They can be very insightful.
But before we wrap up this segment,
I
want to go back to that challenge we talked about earlier. Handling multiple units of measure.
The pallets, cases, and individual units.
Exactly. It seems like such a common problem.
It is.
How does the book suggest we handle this in our fact tables?
Well, the book recommends against storing unit conversion factors in the product dimension. Instead, those factors should be included directly in the fact table.
Now, hold on. Wouldn't that add complexity to the fact table?
It might seem that way.
Why not just keep those inversion factors in the product dimension?
It's tempting, but trust me, it makes things much cleaner in the long run.
Think
about it. If you keep those conversion factors in the product dimension, every time you want to analyze data in different units, you have to look up those factors and do a bunch of manual calculations.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It is, and it's prone to errors.
So having everything in the fact table just makes the analysis smoother.
It does.
And reduces the risk of mistakes.
Exactly.
It's like having a built-in unit converter.
It is.
Right there in your data.
Makes things much easier.
So it's a small tweak with big benefits.
You got it.
All right, well, if we wrap up this segment on accumulating snapshots, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
All right, I'm ready.
The book emphasizes that order management is just one piece of a larger puzzle.
It is.
Everything in business is interconnected.
It is.
So what other areas might we want to explore in relation to order management?
Well, a natural next step would be to delve into inventory management.
Inventory management.
After all, you can't fulfill orders. If you don't have the products in stock.
You need to know what you have.
Exactly. Understanding how much inventory you have, where it's located, how quickly it's moving, can have a huge impact on your order fulfillment process.
It's all connected.
It is. It's all part of the supply chain.
And I imagine linking inventory data to your order management data could reveal some really powerful insights.
It could. You can start to see which products are your best sellers. Which ones are gathering dust on the shelves where you might have inventory bottlenecks. You can even determine if you're carrying too much inventory or not enough.
It's like having a real-time view of your entire supply chain.
From start to finish.
From start to finish, you can track products from the moment they arrive in your warehouse to the moment they're delivered to the customer's doorstep.
Exactly. And speaking of the customers, we've talked a lot about the operational and financial aspects of order management. But let's not forget the most important element.
Who's that?
The customer.
The customer, of course.
Right behind every order is a person.
A real person.
With their own unique needs.
Needs and expectations. And by incorporating customer data into our order management analysis, we can gain a deeper understanding of their behavior.
Exactly.
Their preferences. Their satisfaction levels.
It's about moving beyond simply processing transactions and focusing on building relationships.
I love that we're not just packing orders. We're tracking relationships.
We are.
And strong relationships are built on trust.
Absolutely.
Reliability. And a commitment to delivering exceptional customer experiences.
Well said.
So by analyzing order management data in conjunction with customer data, we can answer questions like, who are my most loyal customers?
Good question.
What are their buying patterns?
Right.
How happy are they with my products and services?
Important questions.
We can even spot recurring issues or complaints.
Absolutely.
That need to be addressed.
It's all about listening to your customers.
So it's like having this 360-degree view of your customers.
So you could see a whole picture.
So you could personalize your interactions, tailor your offerings, ultimately build stronger, more profitable relationships.
That's the goal.
And I imagine this type of analysis is especially valuable for e-commerce businesses that have access to so much customer data.
They do. They have a wealth of information at their fingertips.
So they can analyze website traffic, purchase history, other online behavior.
To create those detailed customer profiles.
It's like having a digital fingerprint.
It is.
For every customer.
You can really understand their needs and desires.
Right. Well, let's not forget about those all-important metrics.
Okay.
That measure the overall health of your order management process. We've talked about lag times of bottlenecks.
Right.
But what are some other key metrics?
Well, some other crucial metrics might include order accuracy rates, on-time delivery rates, customer return rates, and even customer lifetime value.
So we're not just measuring efficiency.
No, we're not.
We're measuring effectiveness.
Exactly.
We want to make sure that our orders are processed quickly, but also accurately, and in a way that delights our customers.
Absolutely. It's all about creating a positive customer experience.
And by tracking these metrics over time, we can identify trends, spot potential issues, and continuously improve our order management processes.
It's a journey of continuous improvement.
To drive both customer satisfaction
and business growth.
And business growth, that's the ultimate goal.
It is.
All right, well, before we wrap up our deep dive into order management, I want to leave you with one final thought.
All right.
The key takeaway here is that data is more than just numbers on a spreadsheet.
It is.
It's a story waiting to be told.
A story with insights and opportunities.
And it's a story with the power to transform your business.
Absolutely.
By listening closely to the data, you can unlock those insights, optimize your operations, and create a truly customer-centric organization.
Well said.
So go forth and embrace the power of data.
The power is in your hands.
Yeah, it's like a whole hidden world right there in our data.
It is, and we're just starting to scratch the surface.
Right. As we get better at collecting and analyzing data, who knows what we'll be able to uncover.
The possibilities are pretty exciting.
They really are. But before we get too carried away with the future,
you
know, I think it's important to emphasize that.
Right.
You need a solid foundation.
You do. You can't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation.
Exactly. So where do we even begin?
Well, I think the first and most important step is to define your goals.
Our goals?
What are you hoping to achieve?
Right.
With your data analysis.
What are we trying to figure out?
Exactly. Are you looking to improve efficiency? Boost profitability? Enhance customer satisfaction?
Or all of the above.
Could be all the above.
So we need to have a purpose.
You do need a clear objective.
Before we even start collecting data.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're just drowning in numbers.
Right. You're just collecting data for the sake of collecting data.
And that's not very helpful.
Not helpful at all. So once we have a clear understanding of our goals, then what?
Then you can start to identify the data sources that are most relevant to your needs.
And that's where things can get a bit tricky, right?
It can be.
Because data is often scattered.
It is.
Across multiple systems, departments. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle.
I like that analogy.
With missing pieces.
It can feel that way sometimes.
So how do we solve that puzzle?
Well, data integration is key.
Data integration.
You need to bring all of your relevant data together into a single centralized location.
So we can actually make sense of it.
Exactly. You need to see the whole picture.
And that's where data modeling comes in.
Data modeling is all about structure. It's like creating a blueprint for your data warehouse.
So we're organizing the data in a way that aligns with our business goals.
Precisely. It's about making the data work for you.
And data modeling is an iterative process, right?
It is. It's not a one-time thing.
So it's a continuous journey of improvement and optimization.
Just like everything else in the data world.
And as we've seen throughout this deep dive, that journey is definitely worth it.
It is the insights we can gain from analyzing our order management data can be truly transformative.
Absolutely. We've seen how we can use this data to identify bottlenecks, optimize processes, understand customer behavior, and ultimately make better decisions.
That's the goal.
That drives business growth.
It's all about making smarter, data-driven decisions.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our exploration of order management, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Data is a powerful tool.
It is.
But it's only as good as the people who use it.
That's a great point. The true power of data lies in our ability to interpret it. Draw meaningful insights. And translate those insights into action.
So as you embark on your own data analysis journey, stay curious, stay creative, and never stop learning.
The data world is constantly evolving.
It is. There's always something new to discover.
Absolutely. And if you ever feel lost or overwhelmed, remember the Data Warehouse Toolkit?
Our trusty guide.
It's your companion, our secret weapon.
In the quest for data-driven success. Well, head. All right. Well, that's a perfect note to end on.
I think so, too.
So until next time.
Yes.
Keep diving deep and keep exploring the amazing world of data.
Keep learning, keep growing.